If your Maytag, Whirlpool, or Kenmore dryer stopped working, we have some good news. In this video, we're going to take a look at why it stopped working and how to fix it. For this particular unit, and very likely yours as well, the safety switch has stopped working. And I can tell that it's damaged because it's not pushing back the way it should. For a while, what was happening was you'd open the door while function is happening and the drum would continue to spin. And several months went by, and then she noticed, as we can see right here, with the setting to where it should be on the timer, and then we hit the start button and nothing happens. So we're going to fix that today just by replacing that little switch. The tools for this job are very simple. You're just going to need one from column A, one from column B, and our switch, which I'll put the part number up on the screen, but it's going to be 3406107. And that'll apply to Maytag, Kenmore, and Whirlpool. Perhaps others, I just don't know. So in order to do this, we just have to undo 6 screws, swap out the switch, put it all back together, and then we're done. The easiest way to start, I found, is with the lint collector. So we're going to pull that out, just as you normally would. With the lint trap out, now we can see 2 screws here. These are both Phillips heads. We're going to want to go ahead and undo those. Before we do that, we're going to remove our power source. So we pull that out, let that hang there. And now these are just short 1/2-inch screws. Next we have to hit a couple screws on the back. These are actually bolts, and that's why we're using one of our 3 tools here. I elect to use a socket. Alright, I tried to pull this unit out from the wall a little bit to give you a better view of the bolt location. So instead I'm just going to put up a still shot of that bolt and then go ahead and crank these out real quick. Again, these are short, about 1/2 inch. And you can see, because of the placement, that's why I choose to use the socket instead of a pliers or an adjustable. Okay, so with that out of the way, now I'm going to set my lint trap off to the side. So now, in order to get to where our switch location is, we need to lift up this cover. So in order to do that, now that we have these back screws out and our retainers here are out, we're going to put pressure up against the unit itself, pull gently from the back as we kind of push with our hip against this going that way, and I'm pulling back here toward the front, and I'm going to gently lift up. So I already got, we can see this side is up. There we go. So what you saw me do is come back around, readjusted, gave it more force over here. It's a lot easier when you're not walking around a camera, I can promise you that. Now with our cover up, we have access to our switch, so we can easily replace that with just 2 more screws. What I'm going to do is take something to prop this up. There you go. There's always something sitting around. And now we're going to open the door. There's going to be 2 Phillips heads pointing straight up. These ones are a little bit longer. Let me get you down there so we can get a good view of it. Like I said, these are just a little bit longer than the others, but there's not a lot of force holding them in. And they're really only long because of the way the switch sits in there. So you only have a couple threads that you actually need to deal with. The second one, as you're pulling it out, I always find it useful to push down on the screw just to support, on the switch itself from the inside. And I can show you how to do that. So now here's our switch. What I was doing before when it was on the other side, as I was undoing this screw, just pushing down so that the switch itself would, stay put. Easy enough. Now we just need to pop this out, which is actually a little tricky. So let's get to that. You might need a knife. So each side of the switch has these tabs on it. And there's really no easy way to depress the tab because now this thing is old. I believe this one's 10 to 15 years old. So through all the heat and cooling cycles, there's really not much flex left in the plastic. So what I like to do, I don't have a flat blade with me right now, so what I'm going to do is take a butter knife and gently slide it, keeping in mind this side is bad. This is the side that we're replacing, so if you crack something, it's not that big of a deal. This side is the business side, so you want to be gentle here, but again, there's really nothing you can destroy easily. So we're going to get that knife up under there, and obviously a butter knife isn't going to be the thinnest blade you can find, but it's the most convenient one I have right now. Gonna work that under there just until that tab is past the plastic. And I'm sure there's a tool. If you actually called your Maytag repairman, there'd probably be something that he can bring out for this. But we don't need it. See, we got that out now completely. And you can see what I was talking about earlier. Again, from all the heating and cooling, the switch, it's not supposed to be two separate pieces like that. So what was happening, and I'm sure there's some kind of problem on the inside as well, but the switch doesn't function as it should. Let's compare it to the new one. So here we have our door switch, and just a quick comparison, we can tell these are the same, clearly built at different times and in a different factory since the manufacturer's stamp's not there, but it's what we need. And on a new one, very satisfying. Whereas on the old one, just flopping around willy-nilly. So, just as you would expect, it's very easy to put this in. Since we didn't do any damage to this plug before, and it's keyed, so you can only put it in one way. You see the little point there, and flat on the other side. It's the same thing right there. So no big deal. Listen for it. Boom. In. So now with our plug put back together, we're going to feed the business end of the switch right into the hole from the inside of the machine. There we go. Now I'm going to feed the screws up one by one. Try to align those to our holes. It's easier to not tighten them until they're both at least seated. And it's much easier to get them seated by holding up the cover and kind of watching the screw go into the switch itself. Good, now both of those are seated. Now I'm just going to take the screwdriver and drive these screws back in. And just like I said with coming out before, it is easier if you support the switch. And these don't need to be overly tight, just snug is good. You don't want to break anything or strip the threads. And you'll feel it. You'll know when it's good because it won't be loose. A couple more turns and we'll be good. Fantastic. Now we can close our front door. And now we're going to take our back screws and just drive those. It's a little tricky to line them up. If you don't put these back in there, is your dryer still going to work? Yep. Is it going to be dangerous? Nope. So if you get frustrated, as we all do from time to time, and can't get these lined up, just move on and do something else with your day. Let's see, this first one's going in at a weird angle. And sometimes when you do that, they'll catch. All right, fantastic. Those went in nice and easily. Now we're just going to hit these last two and we'll be done. In order to get these screws to align, we just need to pull in a little bit on the vent guide. Get that first one set. That should hold the second one nice. Good. Good. Let's get the vent back in there and test her out. Nice. Go ahead and plug the power back in now. Why they installed this one that way, I don't know. So now, when we hit the button, we should hear the dryer kick on. Further, when we open the door, the dryer should turn off. Fantastic. We are all set. We are good to go. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave those down in the description. I'll link the part number in the pinned comment. It'll also be in the description. I think I put it up on the screen if you missed it. I paid about $10 for my part shipped. I think it was $8.48 on eBay. You can find about 400 different people selling them on eBay. Don't pay more than $10 to have it brought to your house if you live in the United States. You'll be good to go. In case the camera didn't pick it up, don't forget to gently push down. You're going to hear those plastic clips engage, and that should be done before we put the back two screws in. But again, if you miss one, it's not that big of a deal. You can always just push it down. As long as you can get those back screws lined up, the front will drop in. If you can't get the back screws lined up, forget about them. Don't worry about it. The only important screws really are the two right here that held the switch in and the two that hold our vent trap in. Other than that, everything's good to go. $10 and 15 minutes of our time. Just saved, what's a dryer go for nowadays? $500, $600? Spend it on yourself. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.